Okay, it's 9:04, and I do think we're still having some folks come in based on the number that are registered. But I would like to go ahead and get started so that we can honor time. I am the driver and the presenter this morning, so I'm going to be watching for people coming in. My wonderful assistant is on a boat fishing in Massachusetts. So I'm pretending to be me and her today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screens in just a few minutes, but first I'm going to put myself in the spotlight. So I am Becah Butler, and I'm the Chief Learning Officer here at the Brookwood Community, which means I'm the education person on our staff. So I support education internally and externally, like I am with you guys today. So I am so excited to be here and to talk to you about the steps to starting a program. One of the parts of my job over the last couple of years has been to start a satellite program in the Woodlands, Texas. So I'm going to piggyback off of Vivian's presentation called Do Something last week and talk to you about how we put those steps of the Do Something presentation into practice while building our program in the Woodlands. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Change. There we go. Can everybody see that? Thumbs up. Good. Okay. All right. Let's get started with the steps to starting a program. So these are some of our awesome Woodlands citizens working on some of the product that we do there. And I'm super excited to tell you about this new program. It means a lot to my heart. It's been a lot of fun to start. Oh, we got a bunch of people coming in. This program got started out of a need. You know, basically, we started having families from the Woodlands, Texas is about an hour from Brookwood, but basically still in the Houston area. We're both on opposite sides of Houston. And we started to have some folks from the north side, which is where the Woodlands is, come to us and ask about the potential of a program there. And so that's kind of what planted the seed towards starting this satellite program. Oh, so sorry, we got lots of people coming in. So when Vivian talked last week, she talked about the foundation of starting a programming really being on the determination of God's will. And there were 4 things that she said you really needed to do in order to get yourself prepared to start a program. The first thing she said was to consult your friend Jesus. And I'll be honest, this was something that was kind of new to me coming to Brookwood. I am a Christian myself, but I for many, many years worked in the public school district, which is, you know, obviously a more secular world. So when I came to Brookwood, and part of my job was to facilitate the starting of this program, I was very focused on let's get it done. Let's, you know, go through the steps. Let's make it happen. And one of the things that I was told early on was really to just, you know, stop and talk to God and talk to the families that are in need and ask them to pray for this program. Talk to our community and ask them to be in prayer with you about what needs to happen on the north side of town. And then talk to the greater Houston community as you're out and about and ask for them to support you in asking God what needs to happen for this next step. And then to begin to watch for circumstances, people who are willing to help, people with knowledge of that area of town, people who know about potential enterprises such as soap and jewelry and pottery and plants, anything really that could be meaningful work that can be sold if that's how you choose to run your program. And then, of course, people with programming knowledge for making a strong program for people with special needs. Also, begin to gather the facts. We knew that there were families driving to Brookwood from North Houston 1 to 2 days per week. We also knew that there were families on our residential waiting list that couldn't start day program because the distance was simply too far, even to come 1 or 2 days a week. And families began to ask how they could help. How could they help do something to make this program happen? So those were good things for us to hear, to know that this was something that may be viable. And once we'd done those things, we really needed to get in neutral. And this was something that, again, I had to learn. Get quiet with the Lord, watch for opportunities, and let it evolve. I really wanted to jump on every little opportunity that came along at first. And what I learned from Vivian and from Mrs. Straight was just to hear them all and figure out what's going to be best for Brookwood, what's going to be best for the families in need, and for those folks that are needing programming. So there are 5 pillars for the foundation of a program. Vivian talked about those pillars last week. I've already mentioned this morning that God is the first pillar. Staying close with him with our daily prayers for your program's potential is going to be really, really important. Specifically, ask God for the next right step. I know one of the things that I struggled with was I wanted to go 10 steps ahead. And I had to really stop and ask God, what is the next right step for this program? And have patience. When I came to Brookwood, I came almost 4 years ago. And building the Woodlands program was one of the first things on my to-do list. The Woodlands program didn't open until February of 2021. That was longer than I expected. I thought maybe a year, maybe 2 years. But I realized there were a lot of things that needed to be in place for it to be a strong program. And I do feel like the patience and waiting for the right time and the right programmer and all of the things to fall into place has made it start much stronger than it would have if I would have pushed too hard in the beginning. Also, seek counsel and ask for prayer from those who are like-minded. This can not only support your program from a faith standpoint, but it can also generate interest and open doors for opportunity. You're going to need a leader. Vivian said last week that God and a leader were the 2 most important things to starting a program. So you're going to need someone who's focused on bringing the program to reality. For Brookwood and the Woodlands, that was initially me. I was the person who was charged with bringing this program into reality. After being at Brookwood for about 9 months, I realized that this program was really, really important to me and I wanted it to happen, but I also loved being here on main campus. In fact, I loved it enough that I drive an hour to get here every day and an hour to get home. That's how much fun it is. But I knew that I would be a part of the Woodlands and a part of making it happen, but I was also going to need someone who would lead the day-to-day of that program. It could look different than it did for you, for us as an established program building a satellite. If you are a founder, you may be a parent or a family member of an individual in need of programming. Likely, your leader is going to be unpaid at first if you're a startup. It could be a teacher or another professional if you have funding. And one of the things that we've found here at Brookwood is seeking counsel from retired professionals in our area. Some of our best teachers here at Brookwood were public school teachers who have retired and come back to work at Brookwood, and they are phenomenal. Their experience cannot be beat. Pillar number 3, and as I said before, pillars 1 and 2 are the most important in initiating the process, but pillar number 3 is program. And as a teacher, I can't stress enough how essential programming is when you bring your first group together. Whether you're bringing your own child and 2 other people, or whether you're going to start with 10, you have to have something for them to do. Program is key. It's essential. First, though, when you're going to go about coming up with a program, you have to think about the strengths of your participants. What do they like to do? What can they do? What do they want to do? You also have to consider the space you're working within. At the Woodlands, our space is in a church and it's borrowed. And that space is a shared space. Here on our main campus and at our satellite at Grand Parkway, we have dedicated space for our program. So we can leave our things there, we can leave our things out. We own that space. Not literally, Grand Parkway is a borrowed space, but we get to stay in it all the time. In the Woodlands, it's a shared space. So when we're thinking about programming, we have to be mindful of the activities that we're doing. That can we pack them up? Can they go into a closet? How are we going to organize that? How are we going to do that efficiently? A schedule of pre-planned meaningful activities is going to be essential for your program's success. For our citizens at Brookwood, knowing what is expected and what is going to happen every day and the routine of that is essential for them. When things go off the routine, they can accept it because most of the time we stay very close to our routine. They trust that routine. And so when we have a hurricane or an Arctic freeze or a pandemic, they can flex because we try to keep things very structured on the regular, but they don't love it. None of us love it. You know, imagine if, I know one of my rituals when I get up in the morning and I'm drinking my coffee is to look at my Outlook calendar for the day, kind of prepare myself for what I'm going to love, what I might not love so much, you know, when I'm going to get to eat lunch, the things that are going to motivate me throughout the day, meetings with people I really care about, meetings with people that I might not want to have a meeting with as much, but I have to prepare myself for what's going to happen. And then when I get to work, I look at that calendar again and I base my day around it. By looking at that calendar and that schedule of activities, my anxiety is reduced. And I feel like I can take on the day in a meaningful way. Our citizens are exactly the same. So if you're starting a program, you not only want to create meaningful activities for them, but you want to make sure that they understand what those meaningful activities are and what their role is in that, what the expectation is for them. I have a link on this slide called Structured Employment, the Brookwood Way. And this is an online course that we developed for our staff here to help them understand how important that structure is for our citizens. And I've provided it here for you guys. It's a free course. It takes probably 45 minutes to an hour to do, and you're welcome to use it for yourself or for folks that you are trying to recruit to be part of your program. I hope it helps you to understand how important that programming piece is. The fourth pillar that Vivian talked about last week is financial support. Start small. Seek free space. Start in your home, your backyard. That's where Mrs. Straight started, in her backyard. We started the Woodlands in free space in the Woodlands. You can even use your garage. I can't use my garage because it's an absolute mess, but you might be able to use your garage. Generate interest. Think of something you can make first and give away. We have an affiliate program in Georgetown, Texas called Brookwood in Georgetown. And Brookwood in Georgetown was started by a mom in need of programming for her daughter, Gracie, much like Brookwood here in Brookshire was started by a mom in need for her daughter, Vicki. And Aaron, the founder of BIG, worked very closely with Vivian, our CEO, to create the program there, which has grown and flourished, and we're very proud of what they've done there. But they started by growing sunflowers in Aaron's backyard and then planting them, making them really pretty, and giving them away. This gave the citizens, those first citizens in her program, something meaningful to do, and it generated interest for this thing that she was trying to build to serve folks in the Georgetown area. She and the citizens would load up and go to businesses and organizations within the Georgetown area, individuals, hand out these beautiful sunflowers, and these folks would say, whoa, this was created by an adult with disabilities? Yeah, it was. It's beautiful. I love it. How can I become more involved in this? What can I do to support it? So generate interest and do it by giving someone something that will make their day. At Brookwood, we always say, make friends first. Don't ask for money. Don't ask for financial support. Make friends. Seek advice. There are a lot of smart people in this world who are going to believe in what you're doing because you're doing a good thing. And in the process of seeking advice and making friends, people are going to likely donate their time, their talents, and maybe even their money. Probably their money. But when you're starting a program that's enterprise-based, time and talents are equally important. And as a teacher, I wouldn't say that I come with a lot of enterprise talents. So knowing people who have talents that I don't is going to be essential for me to build a program that's successful. You're going to find more out about our philosophy of make friends first when our advancement officer does her presentation later on in the summer. And I really encourage you to attend that if fundraising is something that you want to learn more about. But really, the base of our philosophy here at Brookwood for fundraising is make friends first. The fifth pillar, and really this goes right in tandem with the fourth pillar, is community support. And community and financial support really work in tandem with one another. You're going to be gathering community support from day one. The first day I came here, I began to ask people, what has been done in the Woodlands? What do people know? And one of the first things that several staff members told me or gave me was the names of the families that were interested. And so I began to talk to them, and they were a wealth of information because they had skin in the game. They really wanted this to happen. They were driving over an hour to get here for 2-day-a-week programming. One mom was driving here, volunteering all day, and then driving back 2 days a week. It was, she was very invested in having something closer to her home. And she was very involved in the community in the Woodlands. So she was a great resource to find out what's out there. And she really helped me to start talking to folks at different churches and other organizations and other parents about the possibility of starting a program in the Woodlands. And that helped us to generate some different avenues of interest that eventually led to where we are today. Always have kind of that elevator speech about what you want to do available in your head. Your vision, your mission for your program ready. You're doing a good thing if you want a program for adults with disabilities or any underserved population. So be proud to talk about what you dream about. People want to hear it, and they will want to support you. That shocked me. Again, coming from public school, I wasn't used to really having to ask. I had to ask for money, of course, because money is always short in any special ed world. But it was different because we didn't do a lot of fundraising or even friend raising. So having to talk to people for support was not comfortable for me at first. But what I realized really quickly was that people were interested in hearing what we wanted to talk about and what we were dreaming about. So don't be shy to talk about what your dreams are. So for us, the evolution process of starting Brookwood in the Woodlands. So like I said, families began asking if Brookwood would ever come to North Houston because there were some folks that had the need. And years ago, Mrs. Strait, who you guys met last week, spoke at the Woodlands United Methodist Church. She went and did a book talk for the parents there at the Woodlands United Methodist Church. And she found out that they had a thriving special needs population. They serve over 300 folks with special needs in their special needs ministry, from little bitties to adults. And she was just, fascinated by this. She thought it was amazing. And in her mind, it sparked an interest right then. Oh my goodness, I would love to work with them to have a program. Hold on, I got somebody coming in. Just a second. Sorry. Okay. So, this little spark was in her heart, and she actually asked them if they would be interested in a partnership, and they said, no, thank you. And this was years ago. At this point, this was probably a decade ago. They said, no, thank you, we're not interested. And then when I came on board 4 years ago, we talked about it, and Mrs. Strait said, I just think it would be such a great place. And a lot of the families that are interested in programming in the Woodlands go to this church, and they've gone to this church because of the special needs ministry and how thriving it is and how great their kids, do there, and how much it brings to their life. So we talked about it, and I said, do you think I should ask them again? Maybe, I don't know. So we kind of put it on the back burner and began to talk to some other churches in that area. And some had mild interest, some just told us no. And I even talked to my own church, and which was good because it was a way for me to practice talking to my pastor about it, and not only to ask for space, but to seek, that prayer and counsel about what was going on. And he was somewhat interested in us using their space, but it was not an ideal space. And we were going to have to share it, but share it multiple times a week. And it didn't feel like the right fit. And the location wasn't exactly the right fit based on where our folks were coming from. So, we kept looking, just exploring, options. We had some families, just on the lookout for rental space to buy. One family actually offered to buy an older home on a couple of acres in the Tomball area, which is close to the Woodlands. And we went to look at it, and Mrs. Strait said, I don't know if this is what we're really looking for. And of course, in my mind, I'm like, let's just take it. It'll be fine. And, obviously she has a little more experience with this than me. So I followed her lead, and she said, this is not where we need to be yet. And, it's a great offer, and we're so appreciative, but it just doesn't feel like, the right thing. And in her heart, I think she wanted to go back to that free church space that she started in. And because she knew that you start with a very low overhead, you just don't have to invest a lot. And then you really can focus on the quality of your program and not so much on the finances. So again, we're talking, I'll be honest, getting a little frustrated that nothing is exactly right. But our goal was to start with minimal cost. And so we stuck to our guns. In mid-2018, the church actually, before mid-2018, I did go back after I'd been here for about 4 months. While we're looking at places, I did go back and ask the church one more time. I thought they would say yes to me. I have no idea why, because they didn't know me at all. And they did not say yes to me. They were very gracious, but they said no. But in mid-2018, I was standing outside my office with, I think Vivian was there. And I know there were a couple other people from our Citizen Life team there. And my phone rang in my office. So I went over to answer it. And it was the pastor over the special needs program. And she said, hey, are you guys still interested in starting a program in the Woodlands? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, we've thought about it, and we're actually doing a capital campaign right now, and we're going to revamp our whole special needs space. And it seems like we're spending a lot of money to use it only a couple of days a week. So if you're still interested, we'd like to talk to you about starting a program. And of course, I was very calm and appreciative, and then got off and did a crazy happy dance. And of course, assumed at that point we had it hook, line, and sinker. It was a done deal. And then as we talked to the church more, they said, well, you guys aren't even really in our community. There are some programs in our community that might want to expand. And they serve the same population, but in a little different way than we did. And so she said, you're going to have to interview, for this. We're going to have to interview you, and we're going to give some other reputable programs the opportunity to interview as well. So our balloon deflated just a teeny tiny bit, but we thought, no, this is good. We have to work for it, right? So we invited the church committee. They formed a committee of parents and folks at the church, and we invited them to come out and have lunch at Brookwood in our cafe and do a tour, and then go to our Grand Parkway satellite. So they spent the whole day with us, and we fixed our hair real nice and put on our best clothes, and tried to be the very best version of ourselves. No, I'm just kidding. We were just our regular selves, but it was fun to have them out, and we felt like it went really well. And we didn't hear anything for a little while. It probably took another 6 or 8 weeks before we heard that we had been granted the use of the space. And that was super exciting. And the space was actually not even under construction yet. They were drawing up the plans, and they actually let us be a part of that process and a part of what furniture was going to be bought. And they used a lot of the same stuff that we use here on our campus. So it was just a really, really nice, it was not a short process, because we also had a worldwide pandemic in the process, but it happened, and it was great. So, we have the space, right? And we know that there are some folks that are interested, but I mean, this is all kind of a handful of people that we've talked to, and we kind of then are panicked because we have space, and will people really want to come? So we decided that we needed to have an interest meeting and really find out what the interest was in the community for us coming and having a program. Also knowing that there were some other programs out in that area, and we didn't want to, come to a market that didn't need us. But we were basically going off a handful of people. So we found a central space in the Woodlands area and had a meeting, basically an interest meeting. We put the invitation on Facebook, on Instagram. We sent it to some of our contacts on our database in that area of town, word of mouth, and we really prayed that people would show up. I think the whole week leading up to the interest meeting in our office, we kept saying, oh, what if 5 people show up? Well, if at least 10 show up, that'll be good. That, then we won't be embarrassed. I don't know why we would have been embarrassed, but we were worried about it. So we created a presentation about our mission and our vision and our core values and our program here on main campus, our satellite at Grand Parkway, and then program ideas for the Woodlands. We provided an on-site. We also created a survey that we were going to do at the meeting. And our whole leadership team went, all of our executive leadership team and all of our citizen life leadership team went. And we were very certain there were going to be more people from Brookwood there than there were from the Woodlands. We brought lots of cookies, and we were very sure that we were going to have to eat them all. But when we got there, we had over 100 that came, and we were blown away. And we were blown away. And at first, we were excited, and we were, honored that people wanted to come and to hear about our potential program. And then we felt this huge burden of how many people needed programming, even though there were quality programs in the area. That hit us like a ton of bricks. I remember standing outside the place where we had the interest meeting with some of our team, and we were kind of on this high of everybody showing up. And then when everybody left, we realized how many people needed programming, and it hit us right in the heart. And we know that the need is great, but when you have a quantitative view of it, it really does, take you back. And what we found from the survey, and this was a printed survey that they hand filled out. You could definitely use like a Google form or something now. I think with a QR code would probably be easier, but this was way back in 2018. So things have changed a lot. Or maybe I've just learned a lot because we had to really up our tech usage during COVID. But we found out that, yes, there were great programs in the area, but many of them wouldn't serve certain citizens. Maybe if you weren't completely toilet trained, or if you had too many medical needs, and so the survey was really good for us because it helped us see what the need really was. And in shared space, far away from our Brookwood Medical Center, there are still limits to who we can serve in the Woodlands, but this just did give us an idea of who needed programming and how we could start to develop our enterprise and program around what the potential needs would be. So we have a space, and we know that there's a need. We needed a leader because, like I said, I had fallen in love with main campus, and we knew that we needed somebody that was strong to lead a program that was going to be an hour away. I mentioned earlier that retired teachers are a great option. And we actually hired a retired life skills teacher who had worked for the last 10 years of her career as a teacher specialist, so training other life skills teachers. and consulting in classrooms that were struggling and needed expert help. She retired, and in the spring of 2019, and we started talking to her in like January and February, but we did allow her to have the summer off to think that she was retired, even though she actually was not going to be retired. And she started working on our campus in September of 2019. So we didn't open our program until February of 2021, but the leader of that program came to us a year and a half before. And the reason for that was we really wanted to ensure that she lived the Brookwood culture for at least a year before leading a program away from us. And when she came in September of 2019, she started 2 days a week. So she didn't come every day because, again, we let her kind of think she was retired for a little while. But that was enough for her to learn our culture. And then as she got closer to opening the program, she began to increase her workday. One thing I will mention about the space that we have at the Woodlands, and when we were offered the space, they said you can have the space Monday through Thursday. Our typical program on main campus and at Grand Parkway is Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 3:30. So this was a little bit different, but we said, yeah, we'll take it, because they wanted to maintain Fridays to use as potentially a respite program or a rec-based program for the folks in their special need ministry. So that is a little bit different. Our Woodlands program runs Monday through Thursday. And so far, that hasn't been a deterrent for our applicants. So it's something to think about. And I will say, having that Friday to prepare, I think, does strengthen programming. It really does. I don't know that it's ideal for everyone, but there is a definite positive to it. And it allows for Tanya, who is our lead there, and Jessica, who's her assistant, to come out to main campus to train, to help us. They've actually been able to hone some techniques for painting that we were struggling with at main campus. So they've come back and taught us, but it is kind of nice. So just something to keep in your mind. While Tanya was here learning Brookwood, she spent time in every shop, every enterprise. And as we got closer to the opening of the Woodlands, she began to focus on the enterprises that would actually fit in that shared space, which one of our big enterprises here at Brookwood is ceramics. And we make ceramics from raw clay. And it is messy, messy, messy. Beautiful. And there's a lot of citizen involvement, but it is not clean. So it is definitely not something that you can do in a shared space. So we had to really think, and we also grow, 50,000 poinsettias a year. We could not grow 50,000 poinsettias or even 500 in a shared space inside of a church. So we had to think about what we would do there that would make sense, that would be meaningful work, that would produce a product that we could sell in our store, but that could be done in that shared space. So we set up a meeting with our design team, and that's something that we're fortunate, after years of being here since 1985, we do have experts that work at Brookwood to help us design our products. But I will tell you in a little bit how we kind of mix the design team and then the creativity of the program staff. So you don't have to have a design team to be successful, and we certainly didn't for many, many years as Brookwood was beginning. But we began to brainstorm ideas for meaningful work that would work within that borrowed space. We had to first consider the skills of our potential citizens. That's always going to be primary for you, because you'll be very, very frustrated if you have work that your citizens can't do. And then there'll be a disconnect, because the whole point of starting a program that involves meaningful work for adults with disabilities is that they can do it, so they can experience the pride. You don't want them to experience more frustration that they can't do something. So we also had to consider the ability to maintain cleanliness of this shared space and how we would store what we would use when they needed to use the space at night or on the weekends. So we made some preliminary decisions to start with melt and pour soap. That's one of the things we do. We make soap on our main campus that is we use lye to mix it. Citizens can't be involved in that process. And that just wasn't something that could happen in that shared space. But melt and pour soap could be made in the woodlands. So we began to explore that. And then we make 2 lines from our ceramic shop called Bluebonnet in Texas. And we actually don't paint those from raw clay anymore because we paint a really large volume of them and do a lot of special orders of the Bluebonnet in Texas. So we order the raw bisqueware and paint and then fire those pieces. And so we realized, because we have a pretty high demand for the Bluebonnet in Texas, that they could help with supplying that to main campus. So painting the bisqueware. Always we're generating work ideas, because work is play for our citizens and play is work. And like I mentioned before, programming is key, and always having more to do than less. Because our citizens, we find here, when there's downtime and there's not enough work, that's when we begin to see unmet needs. That's when we begin to see anxiety. They want to work. That's why they're part of our program. And so being busy is important. It's not always easy. I'm not going to lie, but especially when you're serving 250 on a daily basis out here at main campus. But it is super important, especially from the beginning, to have that in your mind. More work is better than less, because inevitably something's not going to work. You're going to need to have a backup. And so just be thinking that way as you start your program. So when we began to think about enterprises at the Woodlands, like I said, we decided on the melt and pour soap. We do it for humans and dogs. We also make dog biscuits here on main campus, so we marry those things together. Painting the bisqueware. We do not fire at the Woodlands because we do not have a kiln. That was a discussion that we had with the church early on. We tried to think of how we could put a kiln out there, even maybe building like an outside structure. We ultimately decided not to, because we do have access to our kilns here on main campus. And it just wasn't something that we could tell the church wasn't super comfortable with it. And it really wasn't a deal breaker for us. But it's not to say that if you choose to do that, you couldn't figure out how to make that work. But what we realized when we started, and we started kind of on the tail end of COVID, that we needed more than just the melt and pour soap and the painting of bisqueware. And our design team was pretty busy out here on main campus trying to come up with things to do in our COVID world that were a little different than our regular world. And so our teachers at the Woodlands realized that they were also going to have to be part of the design team, or they were going to need supplemental work. And that supplemental work could be real work that went into that was production work, or it could be things to keep the citizens busy. Well, our philosophy of Brookwood is meaningful work. So they just took that full on and also began some research and development of additional products. We had been donated all this old jewelry from someone's estate. It was costume jewelry. And some of it was actually, bracelets and necklaces and earrings. And then others were just loose beads. I think the lady had actually been a jewelry maker. So tons of this stuff. And you get these strange gifts and you get them and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Well, Tanya, our teacher at the Woodlands, said, let me just take it and play with it. So when they had downtime, she and the citizens began to design jewelry. Not really with the mind to sell it at first, but really to see what the citizens could do, what mediums they could work with, how small holes they could string, what adaptations she needed to make so that they could be independent with it. Well, they loved it. They loved it. They called themselves jewelry apprentices. They just jumped on this jewelry train. Even one of our guys there, he absolutely loves it. And we think that he was a famous jeweler in a past life. But so once they realized that the citizens liked this, they decided they needed to try to make it something that was a start to finish product like we like to have at Brookwood. So they researched how they could make their own beads. And you can see in this picture, Stacy is working on making beads. And then we've got up here in the corner, these are some of the loose beads they've made that they're patterning to string. And the citizens have come up with all kinds of patterns. I actually have one, let's see if I can, that's my one that I have on right now, but they're beautiful and they're citizen made. So, these are two teachers, not design experts, that came up with something that has sold well in our store. Our retail manager just ordered 100 more. So, don't think that you need a designer to come up with something amazing. Our citizens have also painted planters to plant our Brookwood plants in. And, when you think of your own skills, if you're starting a program, you need to build around what you like to do. I can tell you right now, I wouldn't build a program around making ceramic products from raw clay because I don't like the feeling of all the things. I've learned to be okay in the ceramic shop after 4 years, but the first few times I went in there, it was like sensory overload for me. So that probably wouldn't be the best enterprise if I were the program director. So think about what you like to do. Tanya likes to macrame. She hadn't really done it in years. She had actually done it when she was much younger, but she decided we had a macrame plant hanger in our store that we had bought as a market item. And she said, I know how to make that, I think. So she, got the supplies and she made one and she said, I totally think the citizens can do this. So she brings it. And lo and behold, one of the citizens, his parents worked really hard with him to become an Eagle Scout. And he can tie knots like nobody's business. So he can macrame. So, you just never know. We haven't sold any of their macrame items yet because they're still kind of in the research and development phase. But I think we will, I do. Also plan to have activities that teach those prerequisite skills for whatever your enterprise will be and the requisite skills. You want to have things to keep your citizens good at what they do and for them to initially learn how to do it. Because obviously you can't learn on product that you're going to sell or you're going to eat up all your raw materials teaching. So you got to have ways to do that. So I've talked already about programming, but I can't stress enough structure from day one, over plan, and provide a visual representation.
I saw you with that big tool. You're at it, huh?
Hold on, let me see if I can mute everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody is not muted. I have everybody on mute, but it doesn't, let me see. Okay, maybe that did it. That was somebody that slipped in so they didn't get muted. That's easy to do. That certainly happened to me. Provide a visual representation of the plan. Super important. Many of our citizens at Brookwood are primarily visual learners. Most people on the autism spectrum are primarily visual learners, and you will likely have a good number of folks on the autism spectrum in your program. We all need that visual. I talked to you about how it's important for me to go to my Outlook calendar the first thing in the morning so I can reduce my anxiety about what I'm supposed to do that day. Our citizens need that too. You can have a wonderful plan in your head, but if you don't communicate that plan to your people, it's of no use to them. So have the visual. At the Woodlands, each of our citizens has a visual schedule for every day of the week. And it's pretty broken down and it changes. So this is Monday and Thursday that you see. They have a Tuesday and Wednesday schedule. They have fun things that they look forward to within that schedule. I'm sure there are things that they like less in that schedule, just like we have in our day. But if you don't want to do something and something you do want to do is coming right after, you're a lot more motivated to get through the work, right? And like I said, don't assume because you know the plan everyone else does. Anxiety comes from the unknown and it leads to unmet needs. And that's our word at Brookwood for behavior. We believe that our citizens don't have bad behaviors, they have unmet needs. And we have found that visuals on the forefront can help to eliminate those unmet needs on the back end. What else are you going to do at your program besides work? All work and no play is no fun. Even though our citizens love to work, you got to have other stuff, right? And you got to have things to keep keep your folks busy. Fitness, fitness, fitness. At Brookwood, we believe that fitness needs to be a part of every day, no matter what campus you're on. And it's going to look different depending on what your setting looks like. So walking, basketball, Special Olympics, you could partner with Special Olympics in your area and have that be part of your program. I mean, there's nothing better than Special Olympics. All of our guys at some point pretty much have participated in it. Exercise videos. And in fact, I've got our website, our citizen website down at the bottom of this page. It's called www.bwconnects.org. And this is a website that we created especially for our citizens so that they can have access to Brookwood when they're not at Brookwood. And we have a plethora of exercise videos on there that have been filmed on our campus by our citizens, by our activities director, who's hilarious, and by some of our community partners like the Houston Symphony and Aggie kinesiology students, all kinds of fun things on there. So that is a public website and you guys are welcome to utilize it. Service, always have a service component of some sort. Everybody feels better when they can give to others. Meals on Wheels. We do Meals on Wheels here. We have a thing called Bike to the Beach where we train on bikes and we do a bike ride that benefits people with intellectual disabilities and autism. Canned food drive. I mean, whatever you can do to find a partner in your community that you can support. Your citizens need to feel that connection. It's really important. For us at Brookwood, spiritual life is also a big part of our day. We have a wonderful pastor on staff who has created daily devotionals for our citizens. And we have them for daily during the day in the shop. They start their day with a morning meeting and a daily devotional. And then at home at night, if you're residential, there's also a follow-up devotional in the evening during the dinner time hour. Core values. We talk about our core values. At Brookwood, our core values spell the acronym God Rich. Grace, opportunity, dignity, respect, interdependence, continual improvement, and honesty. We focus on one of those core values each week through our devotional, and we try to speak them to our citizens, and our citizens speak them back to us. I've never seen an organization do that like Brookwood does, and it really impressed me when I first came. So it's something that I would say, figure out what your core values are and communicate that with your participants because it'll be important to them. Our spiritual life programming is also on BW Connects under the spiritual tab. So there's access to our devotionals and we've got Bible party videos that we do every Wednesday. And many of our services are on BW Connects. There's also a little video teaser for each week's devotion that's on BW Connect. So you guys are welcome to access those things. Traditions. Traditions are really, really important in a program. We have all kinds of fun traditions throughout the day, the week, and the year. And celebrate goals, celebrate birthdays. On payday, we offer payday Cokes. That's a big thing. You get your paycheck, and then payday is a whole nother presentation. We fall under the 14C with the Department of Labor to pay our citizens sub-minimum wage. So that I won't even go into that now because it's its own presentation. But we do pay our citizens, and payday is important. Current events. We have a day at the Woodlands where we do current events. We use a program called News to You, which is a wonderful program for folks with special needs that presents current events in a way that our folks can understand. It's very visually based. So traditions are important. Well, I want to show you this little video. This is Bible Party. We have Bible Party here on main campus on Wednesday nights. So at the Woodlands, they do Bible Party on Thursday morning. So I want to show you. We have some good dancers there. Love that. So have fun. It's work. It needs to be fun. Okay, budget. So you're going to have to figure out what your revenue is, or whether you're going to charge tuition, determine a tuition rate, and determine your number of program participants so that you can come up with what you're going to be bringing in if you do bring in tuition. Grants, other funding sources, those are going to be your revenue bases. And then you do need to come up with a simple budget of your expenses. You know, you got to be informed about what's going on with your financials. And the best way to do that is just to get it down on paper. Salary, if you're going to have salary, benefits, if you're going to offer benefits, which Brookwood, I believe, did not do in the first years, but of course, at this point, we do have good benefits. Try to get anything donated first, right? Program space, our space in the Woodlands is free. The only thing we pay for is our technology there. And then of course, our supplies, you know, raw materials, things like that, and the salary for our folks there. So you're going to need startup supplies, furniture. We were fortunate at the church to not have to buy furniture. We did need to buy some rolling carts and shelving and things to store our materials when we have to clear out the room. But we didn't have to buy the big furniture, the tables and things like chairs and things. Program materials, office supplies, housekeeping supplies, even probably some personal care and hygiene supplies, although your participants will probably supply a lot of that. Licenses, if you need them, insurance, and technology. You're going to have access to technology. If you want to access our BW Connects, it is great to access and, you know, put up on a TV screen connected to a computer, because you can use it then with a big group. But it's very important to sit down and think about all of these things as you get started, because, you know, you will need that financial support for your program. But try as best you can to get anything donated and keep that overhead cost as low as possible so that your money goes into your program. And I do want you to know that the journey won't always be easy, probably won't be as fast as you think that it should be, but God's time is right. And one of the moms who really, really supported this program for her daughter and just for other folks on the north side, she and I kind of got to the point when things would get slow that we would say to each other, God's got this. We have to remember God's got this. And he did. And in his time, he created our program in the Woodlands. And it's much stronger for us realizing that this was all God's time. And our goal is to serve more better, you know, in his time. So that's it. I'm going to stop my share. Let's see. And you guys can unmute if you'd like. If anybody has any questions, we have a few minutes. Let me see what's in the, oh, thank you, Ashley. Daily program chart. Again, I'm going to send you the PowerPoint, or Lori, my awesome assistant, will send you the PowerPoint and the recording of this presentation. So you can definitely have that. It was made in symbol sticks. So when I mentioned to you that program News to You, it's www.n2y.com. It's like the best special ed resource known to man, in my opinion, as a teacher. It's all the things that I used to have to create there for me. So that's where we access the current event. And you do have to pay a small fee for the use of symbol sticks and News to You. But symbol sticks is where we build all of our visuals. We used to use Board Maker, but we switched over a couple of years ago to symbol sticks. The base fee for our clients is, let's see, it's right at $1,100 a month, I think. It's on our website. It just changed slightly. It used to be $1,060, but I think it's a little bit more than that now.
Becca, I think it's $1,138.
$1,138. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And we do prorate that for 1, 2, 3, and 4 days a week for the Woodlands. So it is prorated. And you know, we're at a point in our organization where we have the blessing of being able to offer scholarship. And So I don't know if you're in the Houston area, someone asked, we do have scholarship available, but that's our fee for all of our day programming. So it's across the board for all of our programs, the same. It is a couple of minutes till 10. Do we have any other quick questions? And if not, we'll take about maybe a 3 to 5 minute break before we bring Miss Vivian Schutte to talk to us about Enterprise. If anybody needs to stretch or run to the restroom, we'll give you just a few minutes. Are you ready, Vivian?
I am ready. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can everybody hear? Everybody hear her okay? So we're going to give them a couple of minutes to stretch and then we will get started on your presentation.
Wait, I was going to add just one more thing when they were talking tuition. It took us 26 years to start charging for a transportation fee. And one of our main goals of sharing our mistakes is that you won't make the same. So we, first parents brought them out, but pretty soon we got a van and then we would bring them out. And then some parents, though, that not at the time lived very close to Brookwood, but we never charged those that were riding the bus more money. And then we recognized that the bus was costing us minimum about $22,000 a year. And that's if it had no repairs. Okay, that's just diesel, paying the driver and paying the rider on the bus. So if you do provide transportation, don't do it free of charge for 26 years and then all of a sudden start charging. Your phone will blow up.
That'll work.
Just remember that.